Think you know witches? Every October, the witch returns. Her image glows in candlelight painted on shop windows, whispered through stories. But where did she come from? Who was she before broomsticks and cauldrons, before fear made her become the Wicked Witch of the East? Some say the first witches were not human at all, but beings from the realm of fairy, spirits of nature who understood the secret patterns of energy that hold the world together. If that's true, then the witch we've been told to fear is only the shadow of something far older and far wiser. In the oldest folklore, fairies and witches were not separate worlds. Theirs was overlap, a shared current of power that flowed through both. The people of the Isles spoke of those who healed with herbs, commanded the wind, or spoke to the stones. But beneath these stories ran a quieter truth. Such gifts were taught, not born. The teachers, it was said, came from the other world. They were fairies who lived at the edge, between daylight and dusk, between mortal and divine. These were the Faerie Witches, keepers of balance, mediators between earth and spirit. To some, they were guides, to others, a warning. In every land, they had a name. Banshee in the Highlands, She-Women in Ireland, La Dame Blanche in Brittany, the white ladies who could bless or curse, depending on how they were met. After years of photography, I began to notice a pattern, subtle but insistent. 10 figures in all so far, different locations, different seasons, yet 8 of them shared the same unmistakable mark, a tall, tapering, conical hat. In folklore, the pointed hat was never a mere accessory. It was a symbol of focus, a tool for directing energy upward, linking the body to sky. The cone mirrors the sacred hills and standing stones once used to bridge the realms. To see it appear again in modern glimpses of the unseen suggests the meaning endures, a mark of those who work between worlds. But 2 of the witches refuse that pattern. One is cloaked in deep shadow, her form heavy, her face hidden save for the faint curve of a hooked nose. She feels like the guardian of the threshold, the one who stands watch when the circle is cast. The other is her opposite, bright, even overexposed, a face alone in the light, long-nosed, sharp-toothed, startlingly vivid. If the first guards the gate, this one reveals it, the truth made visible in its rawest form. Together, they embody polarity, darkness and brilliance, concealment and revelation. The 8 with their conical hats weave and channel. These 2 hold the edges, defining the balance that keeps the current alive. Without one, the other could not exist. To the early people, a witch was not evil. She was the one who knew, who listened when the stones spoke, who felt the pulse of storms, who understood that every act of healing began with harmony. The old word, witcha, simply meant to bend or shape, one who could align with natural currents and reshape the unseen into form. The Faerie Witches were masters of this art long before humans learned to imitate it. They didn't command nature, they conversed with it. But imitation breeds distortion. When humans mimicked the art without its reverence, control replaced communion, and fear took root where understanding once lived. The teacher was forgotten, but the myth remained. Samhain, the ancient turning of the year, When the harvest ended and the spirit world brushed close, it wasn't a night of horror, but of honoring, when the living remembered their dead and left offerings for the unseen. On that threshold, the Faerie Witches were said to move freely between worlds, weaving protection for the living, whispering renewal into the sleeping earth. Perhaps that's why the air still hums differently at Halloween, not because they come back, but because for one night humanity remembers how to feel them. Maybe the truest lesson of the Faerie Witches is that magic isn't something to summon, it's something to remember. To live as they did is to listen again, to the land, to the wind, to the quiet language of energy all around us. When fairies became witches, the sacred conversation between worlds didn't end, it simply changed voice. And perhaps that voice still speaks, through intuition, through synchronicity, through the thin places that open when the heart is still. So this Halloween, as candles flicker and the veil thins, remember the ones who walked before the word witch even existed. The Faerie Witches, the first keepers of the craft.